All right, so we're going to get started in the interest of time. I know we have until 3 o'clock, so I would like to leave the last 10 minutes or so for questions, answers, kind of what worked or what didn't work in the past year and what you can do moving forward. So I'm going to share my screen. I do have a bunch of tabs open, so hopefully we can find it. Here we go. And let's get started. All right, so personalized learning in the classroom for every student. My name is Jamie Rifkowitz. A little bit about me, my certifications, elementary ed, K-6, middle school math, teacher of students with disabilities, as well as an instructional technology specialist, which has led me to my current role, which we'll talk about in a minute. My background, I taught middle school math for 8 years in Bergen County. I'm entering my second year as a district technology facilitator in Union County. This is my 10th year in education, which is kind of crazy to think about. I am Google certified level 1 and level 2, as well as a Google certified trainer. So we're going to watch this quick video on personalized learning. Just a little background about this. This was made prior to the pandemic. So personalized learning has been around for rather a long time, but it has really taken shape and form in the past 18 months or so. So we'll watch this and we will talk about it after. All right, so I'm hearing that you guys can't hear the video. Sorry. So let's get back there again and share the sound. I'm gonna restart that. Thank you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, we should be good now.
In most settings, all students are expected to learn material at the same time and in the same way. Many find themselves either ahead or behind others, and learning outcomes suffer, particularly for students who need extra time to master the material. Flipped courses, competency-based education, and online and hybrid classes are changing the way we think about learning. Flexibility in delivery creates opportunities with learning that adapts to the needs of each student. Combining new learning models with digital courseware, integrated planning and advising for student success, and analytics can create a learning ecosystem that tailors support to individual students. For example, an e-textbook could share data with a learning management system about the number of pages read, time spent on each page, notes made, or number of times a video was watched. An analytics tool could evaluate those data for patterns associated with engagement, achievement, and course success. The tool could trigger alerts to students and faculty when problems arise. An adaptive learning system could adjust learning content on the fly, based on data from an online quizzing tool that shows each student's mastery of the material. Prior learning assessment credits skills and knowledge individuals have when they enter a course. In a competency-based program, students move to the next unit as soon as they demonstrate mastery of the specified learning objectives. Advisors would have access to data and tools that enable them to tailor guidance and degree planning support to help students maintain progress toward completion. Instructors see which students need extra help and which would benefit from new challenges to keep them engaged. This integration of tools and systems facilitates the kind of personalized learning that can improve learning outcomes, boost student confidence and accountability, and increase rates of retention and, ultimately, degree completion.
All right, so let's get back to our presentation here. So I always like to start with that to talk about personalized learning, because I think that it's something that has really evolved in the last couple of years. It's a student-centered approach. It's where we're going to identify unique needs and address them within our classrooms. We optimize learning and maximize the amount of learning time for students. And each year there's different surveys that come out. Obviously, you guys know when we get surveys, we realize that learning has definitely evolved, right? And tailoring learning to what each individual student needs is really how they end up growing. And we're starting to see that through the use of different pathways in a lot of these online programs. It doesn't have to be part of a one-to-one program necessarily, but that can be part of it as well. Some key factors: differentiated instruction, flexible pacing, individual student profiles. Those are those learning paths where students are provided with instruction and guidance where they are, instead of either maybe it being too high or too low for them. A deeper learning and problem solving to develop meaning, and it's anywhere, anytime learning. I think that that piece is really what leads people lately to understand that personalized learning is very important. I know for myself, when I was teaching during the pandemic, I realized that some kids couldn't access things at certain times due to, strategic issues or due to other commitments. We really need to meet kids where they are. And I think that's what's been missing for a while. And hopefully this will mitigate some of those things as well. What does it look like in the classroom? So there are a lot of misconceptions about personalized learning. So hopefully we can address some of them here. The first one is it's self-reflection and goal setting, right? A sense of accountability. Now, I taught middle school myself, but I have seen this even in the lower grades. Students as young as, first, second grade, they really understand what they want to do in a day, whether we believe it or not. We just have to give them that choice, right? Obviously, their goals are not as goals would be for an upper elementary or a high school student in the sense of goals or self-reflection, but they can still have a choice in some of those items as well. Utilizing a playlist, kind of like a sequence, right? Providing student choice, also known as an agenda. We used to use this in our classes as well. And we were able to really show what the students are supposed to connect as they move past it. And then grading conversations. So grading conversations typically happen in English, but they can happen in any subject. Just having those conversations with students about their grades, whether you're, regular grading or standards-based grading, whatever it may be. Some myths and truths about personalized learning. This is important as well. So personalized learning is a philosophy. It's definitely something that you have to take into account as part of your teaching profession. It's a commitment to student and teacher agency. It's based on research and best instructional practices, clear definitions. I'm not going to read through all of them, but major ones are there. Enabled by technology. I always caution people with that. Enabled does not mean that you have to use it 24 hours a day, right? Or 8 hours in a day in the case of schools. It just means that it's available. So there are days when students don't use technology, and that's perfectly fine. You can still do personalized learning without the use of technology. That's not an issue. Personalized learning is not a specific program. It does not mean chaotic classrooms. So there was this vision about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know if any of you may have heard of this or you recall hearing something about it, where they said like robots were going to take over classrooms, right? Like with all this blended learning and one-to-one, and teachers aren't going to be needed. And I think that we can all agree from an education standpoint that that did not happen, right? That did not come to fruition, and it's not going to be true. We do need teachers, right? Teachers are there to guide and to motivate and to help students, as well as prescriptive pathways. So it's not just saying, here you go, and we're just throwing kids a list for them to do. It's not a one-size-fits-all piece for them as well. Not a plan to replace teachers with computers, which I alluded to before. Kids move at any pace or at no pace. This is always a concern of teachers. I don't think that this is an issue as long as you have your teaching aspect tied to it, right? So we have to instill in children the intrinsic motivation, if you use extrinsic, outside rewards as well. but students need to really understand and take ownership of their learning. And this is part of it because they're not being forced to do certain things. They're being allowed to do certain things. And I think that that's important as well. Kids choosing the easiest assignment available, again, comes to a motivation issue, right? And what you're presenting to students. Maker spaces and STEM labs as a requirement. Again, helpful, right? I wouldn't say optional, I would say helpful, but not a definite necessity. And it's also not kids sitting on yoga balls. That came from the whole flexible seating aspect, which we know really works for students. It's not just kids bouncing around back and forth throughout the classroom. So some strategies for personalized learning, allowing for personal choice. As we said before, with a playlist and with the agenda, using an express assessment. I know as teachers, and especially for myself, who is a teacher in a tested subject, we have this idea that we have to make assessments that are 25, 30 questions long and take 1 to 2 class periods. I think over the last 18 months or so, we've realized that we don't need that many questions as long as we're targeting specific skills. We can definitely make something shorter, more succinct, and more available to students. And inquiry-based learning, and really allowing kids to find things or lead them to things that they can see on their own. Some other strategies, letting the students teach. This is something that I had a hard time doing when I first started the personalized learning process, because you're giving up that control, right? And once you have systems in place to regain that control, it's a lot easier to give it out. The inclusion of technology when appropriate, as we said before, technology is a tool, right? It's not mastering our classrooms. It's not taking over our classrooms. A lot of students are kind of done with technology depending on how they used it last year. So I think it's reintroducing technology in a different way and in a way that they will definitely move forward with it. And evaluating effectiveness. You can try certain things and sometimes they just might not work, and that's okay. You can always move past it and find something else and work with that the next time. And then some Edtech tools that we're going to take a few minutes to go through as well. So some of these tools, well, actually, the 3 tools that I've highlighted are not new tools. However, they are great tools for personalized learning. I have personally used all 3 of these tools, and you'll see that if you've used something like IXL, which has been around for a very long time, you'll see that over the past couple of years, they've really made a big jump and a big shift into this personalized learning section. So IXL started out as a math company. They added ELA standards, and now at this point, I think they have everything pretty much K to 12, a full comprehensive curriculum that can actually match with a lot of textbook publishers as well with the pacing guides. So they also have world language, so it's a little bit for everyone. So IXL really does empower learners. It provides recommendations. So students take this diagnostic test and they're able to be provided with recommended skills, which means they can learn independently, right? So they do give them skills that are a little bit below their level, a little bit above their level, and then that in between. So hopefully as they move forward, they will learn what it is to improve. Along with that, it gives them skill recommendations. So as you can see, this top corner right here, this is their Diagnostic Arena, they call it. They make it a game for students, which is very interesting because it gives them an overall level. This is just an example of math, but it also breaks it down by each unit too. So just because a student is great in the fraction section might not mean that they're great in the numbers and operations section. And I think that's great as a teacher to really pinpoint those data points for students and for their growth. Flexible pathways. We don't lock students into certain skills. That's another piece of personalized learning. We can give suggestions, but we're not forcing students to do certain things. Maybe that student really doesn't want to work on that section of the pathway, and that's okay. They can go and switch to a different one. Comprehensive curriculum, again, this was a little while ago, I took this graphic. So we're probably past 10,000 skills at this point for the comprehensive curriculum. And again, it aligns to different textbooks and publishers. A continuous diagnostic, so they can continue. We used to do it once a marking period, and actionable analytics, easy to use reports that provide real-time insight into student progress. I think that's another important piece about data, is that we do all of these things with data, but what are we really doing once we have the data, right? We have to do something with it, and we can show the student progress that way. The second one is quizzes. Quizzes is a student-based formative assessment platform, fun and engaging for students. It is a free tool. They do have a paid version as well, but you can get many of the same aspects in the free tool. Bring your own device, so students can access from any device that they choose: phone, laptop, computer, Chromebook, iPad, whatever it may be. You have the ability to search through thousands of public quizzes. I just always caution people to read through the quizzes and make sure the answers are accurate. You can edit your own, you can add things in, take pieces, not reinvent the wheel, and you have structured reports as well. So as you can see here, this is an example of a report. It does connect to your learning management system, and you're able to see real-time data. So for example, 28 students or 39 students in this case completed this. Well, actually it was completed 39 times. I didn't have 39 students in one section. They were able to do it multiple times. So I said maybe the best out of 3, and I'll take that score. So students that really wanted to improve their score went back on it and added through it. It allowed you to see when or what period it was, as well as the overall class average. So this was great because, as you can see up here, if I had 2 separate 8th grade classes, I could see that the averages were pretty good. They're pretty near each other. Maybe you know one of your classes is a little bit lower performing, or that you know that there's a disconnect between some of the classes, maybe when you miss periods of class and things like that. So you can go through that as well. This is a little bit more of a detailed breakdown. This is by individual student. You can also send emails to parents if you wanted to, which is interesting to keep them up in their child's progress as well. And then you can also identify the gaps and do a little bit of data analysis right through the questions. From there, you can go individual question, and I can see that, you know, let's say I'm looking at question number 1 right here. I see 79% of the students had it correct. What if that was the opposite and 79% of the students answered it incorrectly? That would tell me as a teacher one of 2 things. Either the question had the wrong answer or wasn't worded correctly, or maybe I didn't teach that section or that skill in the right way, and maybe I need to reteach that. So that's really on the spot personalized learning. And the last one is called Edulastic. Edulastic is also a free tool, does have a paid version. I've worked with both. I think both are applicable to this. It is an assessment tool, does auto grading, and provides instant data for you as a teacher. And you can see here, it goes through the standards and it selects standards by grade level, by subject, and then it continues through the minor skills and the major skills and all of those items as well. With Edulastic, there is an item bank. It does connect to Google Classroom or another learning system that you may use, and it provides multimedia capability. So if you want to embed videos or embed hyperlinks, you can do that as well. This is just a student profile report. This is a fictitious student. So you can see the overall student profile, and whichever classes use that program would populate in there as well. And it would provide you with the amount that they had correct, with the performance and the overall arching numbers. And then as a class, I always thought that this was important because this is real time. So we can actually watch our students perform in real time. So if you look at all of these boxes, the green obviously meant that the answer was correct. The red would mean that it was wrong, and the yellow would be partially correct. And you have the option as a teacher to either allow points to be provided for a partially correct, or to say that they don't get any points. The other piece to this is it randomizes questions for students on their devices, but it all pulls them back together. So if I look at question number 8 here, question number 8 might be question number 12 on Johnny's screen and question number 13 on Alyssa's screen, but it pulls it all back into your report so that you see the same question at the same time. What I like about this also is I can see how many students are getting it right, how many students are getting it wrong in that real time. So for example, question number 7, and again, this is the connection between personalized learning and data analysis as well. Question number 7, I would think, has a real issue, right? Because you're getting some students that are getting it wrong. You're getting some students that are getting it right, more students than not, but you're getting a whole bunch of students that are getting it partially correct, right? So I would actually, as a teacher, go back in and see what's happening with that question, and any changes that you make happen in real time. So if I entered something incorrectly, or if I wasn't clear enough with my directions, whatever I change will automatically come through the teachers, come through the students' devices. Some more EdTech tools for personalized learning that came out of my experience last year. Kami is a digital annotation tool that's at the bottom left. This is really cool because you can turn any type of PDF document into a digital worksheet without adding text boxes, without moving things to the back or freezing things. So I would definitely check out Kami. Again, paid version, free version. I've used both. Both are fine. Paid version gives you a little bit more reporting, but the free version works as well. Bluekit, which is at the bottom right-hand corner. Bluekit is a game-like scenario, and it provides, I call a mix from Kahoot and quizzes. So it takes like the best of Kahoot and the best from quizzes, and it puts them both together. You have different game modes with Bluekit, which is really cool. And then the last one, the top right, is Deck Toys. So it's deck.toys, again, free version, paid version, just like Bluekit as well that has that. So deck.toys is a website of virtual escape rooms. So you can create your own, you can search current escape rooms, and you can add all of that together to your learning management system. Google tools and personalized learning. So my school is a Google school. I'm a little privy to Google and to see how it personalized learning for students. So Google Forms does have the branching feature. So you can actually add logic conditions into your Google Forms where you can provide multiple paths for students to go through. For example, if a student ended up getting 4 questions, the first 4 questions wrong, and it's a 10-question activity, maybe you don't want them to keep going through it because they're getting frustrated. You can actually force students to go through different sections if they don't answer certain questions correctly. That's important as well. You can also differentiate based on need. Anything in the Google realm is able to be differentiated, right? So using Google Classroom, and this is a segue into it, using Google Classroom, you can always provide individualized assignments, right? We can assign things to certain kids. We can assign them to a whole class, whichever it may be. You can also provide instant communication to parents, right? Parents log in, parents are invited into your classroom, and then you can provide activities based on need. So if students are out or if students need extra resources or extra help, you can always build that into the materials section of your Google Classroom. Some other key aspects, Google Drive. Google Drive is that organization piece, as well as adding folders, and nothing goes missing in Google Drive. So once students are connected through Google Classroom, everything that they do for a specific class goes into a folder in their Google Drive. So that's important as well. And then Google Slides is good for note-taking, for visualization, as well as that focus and that animation piece. And Google Slides really fits into that personalized learning realm, more for a product rather than a process, because you're able to really show what you know. And a lot of students use their technology to enhance that piece as well. And that's really all I have. So I'd like to open this up for, the next 10 or 15 minutes for any questions or anything that worked for you, or where you're located, or what scenario you're in this year, as well as my email, jamie_Rifkowitz@ksdnj.org. And I'd be happy to, to send you any information or collaborate as we go.
Teachers and students, can I have your attention, please?
All right, sorry about that, guys. So there was an announcement going on. If you don't have any questions, thank you for attending. And if you do have any, I'll definitely stay on and we can chat about them. So thank you so much for attending, and I hope you guys have a good day and a good rest of your school year.